JC, how will you write a new movie using inspiration from this and this? By deep diving into a craft that transforms your story into something your audience can truly immerse in. World building. Why is world building so important? It is integral to your story because it can be the difference between an audience member suspending their disbelief and investing in what they see, or failing to connect and having their experience ruined. That's not what we want. When done right, world building can help your story feel full, helping to elicit emotion from the audience. That's what we want.
You don't know how to embroider?
One strength of Enola Holmes is how the world building centers around science and knowledge. It gives us a taste of this in the opening sequence, so we buy into this unique world. It shows mother and daughter playing word games, which becomes an integral way to solve problems throughout the rest of the story. It only gives us more if the scene calls for it to provide context. When Enola discovers the explosive materials hidden in London, we glimpse how she knows what is before her. And during her first fight, we see how and why she knows what to do. The story would have become predictable if we'd been given this information any sooner, as we would have been waiting for this very scene to occur. That's why a foundation was laid in the opening, so it is credible when the next layer is revealed.
I'll pay you £5 to swap clothes with me.
One strength of Stardust is how the world building centers around magic.
Because, let's be honest, it's a field.
It leans into how absurd it is too, with the opening outright rejecting the possibility that a magical land can exist on the other side of a wall.
Do you see anything non-human? No. And you know why? Because it's a field!
But by following Dunstan and then Tristan, two characters who know little about Stormhold, we learn alongside them what this world looks and feels like. Also, introducing the multiple points of view early in the story lays the foundation for what's possible within this world. We know the king's sons are chasing after the ruby necklace. We know the witches are after the fallen star. Just like Enola Holmes, it only gives us context when necessary. The scene where Lamia is tricked into revealing what she will do once she has captured the fallen star is a perfect example.
And when I find her, I shall take my great knife and cut out her heart while she still lives.
Rather than dumping this information on us in the first scene that we see of the witches, which would slow the pace of the movie, it waits for a better opportunity, relying on conflict to reveal this exposition instead.
You shall not see the star, touch it, smell, or hear it.
It's far more effective and entertaining. The introduction of multiple points of view also means that when we collide with a new aspect of the world not already introduced, it doesn't feel jarring. Think of the scene when Captain Shakespeare captures Tristan and Yvain.
Now who are you?
We have not been told that this flying vessel exists, but it does not feel out of place because of previous world building. But JC, how much of the world do I really need to include? In movies, every piece of world building needs to earn its keep in some way, elevating what the audience sees, feels, and thinks. I will touch on how the production adds to these elements, but my primary focus is how the writer contributes to world building, because we're amazing. So now we know what it is. What does world building involve? For your story, ask, what will the audience see? Think of the immediate sensory experience you'd like your audience to have. From colours to sounds to everything in between. The words you use in your script will convey your intended tone, mood, and style, so choose wisely. It will therefore also influence the film's production. Things like casting, costume, music, location, cinematography, etc., etc. More importantly, consciously describing things will help ignite that emotional connection with the audience. That's what you want.
Oh dear God, look at the house.
In Enola Holmes, imagine if I described this as just a house. Boring. But it takes new meaning if I write a house supported by overgrown vines. In Stardust, imagine if I describe this as just a market. It doesn't do much for the imagination, huh? But if I wrote otherworldly market town, suddenly it bursts with life. Ask what the audience will see, but also ask what will the story look like. Think of the setting, time period, geography, weather, etc., etc. The writer's job is to transport the audience to this place, wherever this place may be. The opening sequence of Enola Holmes does this with quirky flair. We see Enola's long hair and loose ribbon, evoking the idea her girlhood is in its final days. We see the bicycle, which is not usual for us today, and her petticoat and dress place us further away from our time. She rides through the sunny, idyllic countryside. Where is she?
Now, where to begin?
Her British accent answers this question.
Is that my mother named me Enola?
She speaks directly to us. This story will have comedy.
I awoke to find that my mother was missing.
But what she is saying has mystery and intrigue. I think we've found our genre.
Is that I'm presently on the way to collect my brothers, Mycroft and Sherlock.
Wait, her brother is Sherlock Holmes? Surely she will have a case to solve.
And I have no gloves.
She has no gloves.
Plainly not Mycroft.
And just like that, I'm invested in this believable world. Stardust has the hard task of setting up an enormous story scope. It does this in the opening by showing us the 3 different geographical spaces relevant to the story. The first is, of course, the night sky, the home of the stars. The second is England, seemingly at the peak of science and industry, and more specifically, the town of Wall.
A wall that, according to local folklore, hid an extraordinary secret.
The third is Stormhold.
How much are they?
They might be the colour of your hair, or they might be all of your memories before you were 3.
A voiceover ties it all together, giving us just enough context to invest in what this world and story is at its heart truly about.
But never mind how the infant became a boy. This is the story of how Tristan Thorne becomes a man.
It foreshadows that all the obstacles Tristan will face will push him closer and closer to who he needs to be. For my mash, I will take inspiration from Enola Holmes and Stardust and make my new world look like this. For your story, the next thing to ask would be, what will the world feel like? Consider the world's values, customs, culture, religions, politics, technology, etc., etc. These will determine your world's past, traumas, joys, and who has the current power and status. The writer's job is to clarify these elements, whatever they may be. Doing so will dictate the type of excitement and anxiety the audience will experience. In Enola Holmes, England is on the precipice of change with a clear political divide. We are given subtle and less subtle clues throughout.
Oh, good God. Feminism. Perhaps she was mad.
Illustrating society's stifling views on women and minorities and how the oppressed are pushing back.
Politics doesn't interest you. Why?
Because it's fatally boring.
Because you have no interest in changing a world that suits you so well.
Humour draws attention to the more ludicrous customs, adding to the tone of the overall movie.
When looking to travel incognito, it's safest to travel as a widow.
And the technology available, trains, motorcars and newspapers, firmly show the resources available to our protagonist.
I knew this would have a truer use.
Overall, it makes the world feel lively, industrial, and just a little bit dangerous. In Stardust, Stormhold has some bizarre customs, like how the brothers tried to knock each other off to become king. Despite the fact that one brother in particular doesn't necessarily agree with this. It foreshadows this world is overdue for a makeover. as do the witch's values around youth, immortality, and the power it gives them. Despite these two distinct powers, the royal family and the witch queens, the world building makes an effort to show the other side of this coin, the markets, the trades, and the everyday people. Doing so gives the audience a picture of how Stormhold functions as a whole. Perhaps there really is a magical land hidden by a wall in a town called Wall.
And you know why? Because it's a field!
The various types of transportation, some magical and some not, add to this idea of possibility. Even in Wall, Dustin believes his son Tristan is destined for extraordinary things, just like Stormhold is ready to blossom into the next iteration of itself.
So you don't fit with the popular crowd. Now, I take that as a very good omen.
Overall, Stardust's world building gives us the feeling of metamorphosis. Metamorphosi. Should Google this. Where's my phone? Oh, over there. Whatever. Overall, it makes the world feel awe-inspiring, limitless, and like positive change is possible. One of the joys of a world like this is witnessing the similarities and comparisons between the different geographical spaces, especially when they reference each other.
If there's one thing I learned in all my years watching Earth, is that people aren't what they may seem.
Perhaps crossing it one day, seeing them for myself.
Really? So you were here looking over there?
Oh, yes.
It helps add to the credibility and that limitless feeling the audience feels. For my MASH, I will take inspiration from Enola Holmes and make my new world feel like this. The next thing to ask for your story is, how do your characters behave within this world? For the world to be successful, it depends on its characters. They must feel authentic and credible. And the best way that I know how to do this is to make your characters carry the world inside them. What I mean by this is you must put your protagonist in conflict with the world somehow. Allow it to impact them, whether externally, interpersonally, or, my favorite, internally. Just look at Enola Holmes. The external conflict is about Enola trying to save Tewkesbury so he can cast the deciding vote in this political unrest. Enola and Mycroft's interpersonal conflict is him wanting her to accept society's oppression of women. And the internal conflict Enola goes through centers around who she is to her mother.
I would never abandon you and leave you to fend for yourself.
Has she been abandoned by the person who taught her to challenge the way of the world? Is she now alone in this world that is changing? And look at Stardust. The external conflict is about the characters racing to be the first to claim Yvain's heart, speaking to their desires for power. The witches want youth, Septimus wants immortality, and Tristan wants to save the one he loves.
This wasn't about me buying her love. This was a way for me to prove how I felt.
The interpersonal conflict between Tristan and Yvain centers on their differing ideas of love and what people should and shouldn't do for love.
I'd wish for nothing in exchange. Nothing but knowing you love me too.
And the internal conflict Tristan experiences is his growing pains of stepping into his true, confident self. For my MASH, I will take inspiration from Stardust and make my new characters behave like this. For your story, the next thing to ask would be, what is unique about the world? Specific is interesting. The more specific you can be in your choices, the more unique your world building will become. An example from Enola Holmes is how mother and daughter play tennis. They play tennis inside over books, breaking things, keeping score.
I suppose that's game.
This reveals so much about their relationship and how disruptive and joyous they can be as a pair, but also as individuals.
Your move, Enola.
An example from Stardust is the fact that brothers do not, I guess, leave the world when murdered. They become ghosts, doomed to see each other again and to watch those still alive strive to become king. This provides so much comedy and keeps the genre on its axis. If the brothers were no longer, this movie would feel dark and uncomfortable.
So, guess we'll be free.
For my MASH, I will take inspiration from Enola Holmes and Stardust and have a specific detail like this. Until the next MASH, bye! What does world building? Okay. To solve problems throughout the film, throughout the movie, throughout the rest of the story. How Stormhold functions as a whole. As a whole? If I write a horse If you want to learn more about the fantasy genre, check out this video.